Hey everyone, today we're going to cover issue number 14 of the Immortal X-Men, which was written by Kieran Gillen. And before I get started, I just want to tell you to stay tuned in until the end of this video, because this ending was something I did not see coming, and to be honest, I'm not quite sure how I feel about it. But before we dive into the story, I want to ask you a favor. If you enjoy this video, please leave a like and a comment to help the channel grow. So with that said, this issue opens up with a broken and disheveled Charles Xavier sitting alone on the beach after the events of the Hellfire Gala, for the population of the island is now reduced down to 1. Because leading up to this event, he has received warnings from Destiny. She had told him to keep Mystique safe by any means necessary, for she foreseen something bad coming, but unfortunately, due to her credibility being destroyed by the events of Sins of Sinister, no one was willing to listen to her. So when everything was at its highest point and the 2023 team was finally elected, in a split second everything came crashing down when Nimrod arrived on the scene. For Charles sat defeated and surrendered and was forced to order all of his mutants into the gates in which he had no idea where they would lead. For from his point of view everyone was gone, everyone was dead, and it was all his fault. So with that done, we jump one day after the gala where we see Shaw sitting in a penthouse tower talking to his new secretary about his alliance with Orchis. And how, for a show of good faith, Orchis wanted him to do the unthinkable. Orchis wanted him to remove his X gene, which he did without a moment's notice, for he injected his arm with the serum that was given to him. Because in his words he was never really a mutant to begin with, but rather just a man with the X gene. So with Orchis's request done, and the preliminaries all out of the way, he tells his new assistants to give him the analytics for how rich he is now after receiving ownership of Krakoa. But to his surprise, his finances were unchanged, which completely pisses him off, because from his point of view, owning Krakoa is the same as owning the finances. But that is when his assistant informs him that he indeed owned the island, but the finances are under another person's name. Now at this point in the story, the identity of the true owner is not yet revealed because he asked his assistant for the name immediately, which she couldn't find because whoever has control of Krakoa's money was smart enough to hide it behind several different shell companies. So with tensions rising, Shaw storms out of the room to get to the bottom of this botched plan, and on a side note, I liked how the assistant thought she was going to be thrown from the window. Kind of making fun of the emotional supervillain angle that is common among bad guys. But anyway, with Shaw being a businessman and everything, he decided to go straight to the person who helped him seal the deal, which was located in the Hellfire Club. So with no time to waste, he went into his private room and summoned Mother Righteousness to his side. Now when she got there, she was not in the mood to play games with the traitor Shaw, because she tells him to quiet down, for she has a hangover from the gala. But see, Shaw was also not in the mood to play her games either, for he wanted her to give him a country's worth of funds because that was the deal that he thought he agreed upon. But little did he know, when someone messes with magic, the end result may not be exactly as it seems. Because she reminds him how naive he actually is, because he was acting like he was making a deal with a businesswoman. But instead, he made a deal with the magician, a speller, a storyteller, a person who would tell you what you want to hear, and like I said before, the result they usually give is never quite what you want it to be. So once the realization dawned on Shaw, he then promised that he would destroy her with everything he has. But that was when she reminded him that he broke the magic circle of his little quiet council. And everyone knows, when dealing with the supernatural, you never break the circle, for if you do your life will be in danger. So with that warning, guards of the club stormed the room and immediately escorted an angry and betrayed Shaw from the building at gunpoint, for his membership was revoked and he was now expelled. So once the disgraceful formal mutant was out on the street, his assistant informed him that they were able to uncover the identity of the man behind the Krakoan finances, which was none other than Wilson Fisk, the new White King. Now, this was a huge surprise for Shaw. But for us, the readers, that was not really a shocking discovery, because as of Iron Man issue number 8, Wilson was seen signing paperwork with Emma before the Sentinels attacked. So with the money now safely out of Shaw's reach, he then received a psychic visit from Emma Frost. And during this visit, she informs him that he backed the wrong horse. He went for the short trade rather than the long one, which led him to leave so much money on the table, because he could have been so rich, but instead he is left begging for scraps from the humans' table. So just before she leaves him, she reminds him that she did it all for the children, where he was only worried about making a quick cent. So with Shaw on his knees in shock, his assistant asks if he needed any medical assistance, in which he assures her that nothing is wrong with him. And the problem was just an old annoying ailment that still serves as a useful reminder, which was a reference to Emma Frost. And then he goes on to ask his assistant if she knows what his true superpower actually is, in which she responds by saying his X gene gave him the ability to absorb energy and turn it into power, in which he tells her she is wrong, for his true superpower is turning cents and pennies into billions of dollars. So with him being the businessman he is, he immediately tells her to start arranging meetings because he wants to start the exploitation of Krakoa as soon as possible. Now following that showdown, we get a data page laying out Shaw's full plan on how to get what he wants, starting with Stage 0, which is ensuring that Krakoa is his. And the way he was going to go about doing it was by A, making sure the Stark Sentinel perimeter is secure. B, ensuring Orcus understands that Krakoa is the sole property of Shaw's Industries. And C, ensuring there are no traps or countermeasures left on the island to stand in his way. So once that is established, he was going to move on to Stage 1, which was building a secure base of operations on the island that could be used to start the exploration of Krakoa, which means salvaging everything left behind to aid in construction. And once the base is complete, then they will move to Stage 2, which is making sure the island stays in semi-hibernation, because if it wakes up all hell will break loose. So as long as it is asleep, they can start mining its resources. And eventually, break into the pit and take the prisoners left behind and sell them to Orcus, aka Sinister. And once that is done, they will move on to the last stage, Stage 3, which is taking control of the island and controlling the sleeping giant directly and using it as a cornucopia to produce whatever he wants. So with that plan laid out, we fast forward a few weeks later with Shaw, Selene, and his assistant on a ship heading towards Krakoa. But as they travel, the assistant makes sure to stress the fact that they're not even at Stage 1 of his plans, but rather, they're at Stage 0 because they have no presence on the island, due to reports of monsters roaming Krakoa. And to make things worse, everyone who was sent there immediately asked to be repositioned out of fear. So with Shaw heading towards his island, we skip over to Charles still sitting on the beach alone, lost in his thoughts. For in his mind a voice called out for him, a voice who was completely aware that he was ignoring her. Because throughout these long weeks, Emma constantly called out for him, because despite all their differences she was still worried about him. But due to all the dangers out there, she couldn't say where exactly they were in case someone was listening in on them. But she goes on to let him know that just because he could not sense everyone with his cerebro and overdeveloped mind, does not mean that they're all gone. Because she believes that everybody is not dead, so because of that, she is reaching out to Doctor Strange and the Black Panther to aid in the search. But just as she was starting to go into details about her plan, Charles picks up on visitors on Krakoa. For Orcus has returned once more to lay claim to its shores. But that was when these gigantic creatures emerged from the tree line and scared them away. For Charles have tried to let it go, but in the end he couldn't. So as long as he is alive, he will hold on to this rock as he sinks. And he will not let the memory be desecrated by those who are bathed in their blood. He would rather have the air torn from their lungs than to have them smell the flowers growing on the mutant graves. So as the lone soldier stands vigilant, when skip over to a desert with no specific location or date, with Exodus, Hope, and Destiny awaking from being dropped off by the gate. Now much like the reader, they have no idea where they were sent or how to return. So with that said, Destiny began to freak out, because much like before she couldn't see the future, but instead, she could see only white space in its place. And to make it worse, Destiny couldn't bear not being close to her rock, for Mystique was nowhere to be found. So as Destiny cried out for Raven, Hope ended up slapping some sense into her, causing her to get a grip on herself. So as Destiny calmed herself down, Exodus let it be known that all 250,000 mutants Charles sent through the gates were still alive. Now everyone was supposed to be sent to Araco, but something went wrong and they ended up here. Which is a big deal, because they have a city full of people, most of which don't have useful mutant powers in a desert, and to make things worse, they have no food, no water, and no plan. So with all hope lost, Exodus stood before the lost people and gave a speech so all could hear. And he started by telling everyone to listen to him, because they can survive this desert as he did so long ago. And at the end of this journey they will be transformed, like he was. For they are now all mutants pilgrims, and he will lead them to the promised land. and all they have to do is put their trust in him. For Exodus proclaims to have seen this in a vision long ago. For they are Krakoan, and the mutants only ever had each other. And regardless of the outcome, they will live or die together. So with those words, he told the Krakoan nation to follow him as he started to walk through the desert guided by faith. So with that said, issue number 14 of the Immortal X-Men comes to an end. And let me just say, I don't know how I feel about all the mutants surviving their displacement. Because it is nice to know everyone isn't dead, but at the same time their survival kind of takes the hit away from the gala. In a way, it cheapens the event we just witnessed. But I would be lying if I said I wasn't interested in where they were sent, because wherever they were taken has to be super far away, considering Charles, the man who could hear a thought all the way in the Shi'ar, can't track them down. But anyway, down in the comment section below, let me know your thoughts about this issue and what predictions you could have moving forward. So with that established, I hope you enjoyed this video, and please don't forget to leave a like and a comment if you want to see more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.